Well, to respond to your comment on defenestration, there are three prepositions in Latin that can be translated as from: ab, de, and ex, although literally they have different meanings. Ab equals away from, de equals down from, and ex equals out from. So by its Latin definition, the word defenestration actually makes sense. Down from the window. Hope that answers your question. Guess I just felt like I had to start over. I hope you can forgive me for not doing my part regarding the paper conservation, as you can forgive me for other things. I'm still trying to forgive myself for these things, and so this is me beginning anew. I was reading this article from the Duplex Planet. It's a magazine written by this guy who wants to portray the elderly in their state of decline, and for this particular article he asked several of them if their futures had turned out like they had hoped or expected. There were a few who said they had been married for 60+ years. A lot of them had spouses who died, and almost all of them had grandchildren and children. And since they were being asked about their futures, they seemed to emphasize that the most. This old lady was talking about how all she ever wanted was a husband, 3 kids, and a white picket fence. That was the vision of the 40s. So of course when I was reading this, I was thinking about you and what you wrote about the white picket fence and not being able to have children. I guess I can't say I'll never regret that. You do remind me a lot of my own father, and he's a pretty good father. And of course no man would I rather have kids with should I want them. But I'm alright with that. I love you so entirely, and if kids aren't a part of our future together, that's that. I'm sure our puppies and kitties will be plenty to take care of anyways. I have so much to look forward to with you, and I do look forward to it. It gets me through the day sometimes. And oftentimes when I'm trying to sleep, I'll try to picture finally seeing each other, just those moments where we catch sight of each other and walk towards each other. I can never decide if I'm crying tears of joy or if I'm too overwhelmed to even cry, but I'm definitely all smiles. I love trying to imagine it because I know my imagination could never even come close to how I'd actually feel or react, and so trying to imagine an entire future together, it's crazy. Even the old lady from the magazine article didn't live the life she had envisioned for herself. Instead of 1 husband, she went through 3. Instead of 3 kids, she had 1, and she never got that white picket fence. And so I know things can change and the future isn't all fun and cake, and we try not to think about that so much, but I know there are people who can last 60+ years together and be happy. I have all the faith in the world that we could last a lifetime together, though 60 years from now, well, you'd be pretty old. My dad told me the other day that all he could ask for is for me to be happy, and I think he's starting to see how happy you make me and how happy we could be together. He totally laughs if I mention something witty that you said. Not that I talk about you so often, but when I do, he seems interested. And not interested merely in the fact that you're a 29-year-old guy in California, but interested in seeing you as a person, and that means a lot to me. I don't know if you've ever read Pride and Prejudice. My guess is probably not, but it's a pretty good love story. The protagonist of the story, Elizabeth Bennet, is a lot like her father. Very witty, intelligent, and independent. Her mother is the complete opposite, ignorant, shallow, and much concerned with social affairs. Throughout the novel, Elizabeth overcomes her prejudice for the prideful Mr. Darcy and finally realizes her love for him. When Darcy goes to Mr. Bennet to ask for his approval to marry Elizabeth, he consents, but then calls Elizabeth into his library and sits her down. He tells her, "I know that you could neither be happy nor respectable unless you truly esteemed your husband, unless you looked up to him as a superior. Let me not have the grief of seeing you unable to respect your partner in life." Mr. Bennet reminds me of my father, very laissez-faire and reserved but caring. I feel like that's exactly what he would tell me. He's been married to my mother for 20 years, and he's even gone so far as to tell me that he doesn't love her, but that he cares for her. His sarcastic and reserved nature, just like Mr. Bennet, have enabled him to live with her thus far. I think he's pretty much accepted the fact that he married a woman that he doesn't love, and instead of running away from his mistake, he accepted it, so that I might grow up in a nuclear household without the stress of divorce. But if he had to see me make the same mistakes and marry a man whom I don't truly esteem, I'm sure it would grieve him terribly. And so you must understand how much his opinion means to me, and even more so how happy his good opinion of you makes me. I love you, and I'm certain that we can make this work out. There is no doubt in my mind about you. You've also given me so much hope in the future. I'd never given it much consideration before, but now every day seems to be working toward it, and I'm so excited to spend it with you. Love, Meredith.